Hi everyone and welcome back. And thank you Armand Trout for getting in my shot and messing up my hidden cut. Yeah, you're cute. Today I'm going to spatchcock a chicken. Spatchcocking has been all abuzz on the internet lately, and it's for a good reason. The chicken cooks faster, more evenly, and the skin comes out to be the best part. This is my favorite way to cook a whole chicken. Right now I'm just removing all the innards packaged in the cavity of the chicken, having a bit of difficulty because it's still a little frozen despite being left in the fridge for over 48 hours. You might have noticed that I also sliced the skin a bit. This happened when I was taking the bird out of the packaging. Kind of bit me a little bit during cooking, but, and spoiler alert, it still turned out pretty great. Nope. It's easiest to start from the bottom. Yep. I've seen most people use kitchen shears, but I unfortunately don't own any. As you can see, a sharp knife will work fine. These are just chicken bones we are chopping through. Just please be careful. I'm going to start with the heel of the knife at the tail and the tip of the knife pointed down towards the board. I'm going to press straight down until the point of the knife makes contact with the board, and then following the spine, cutting the rest of the rib bones with the knife. The footage here actually makes me a bit nervous rewatching it. If I did slip, I would have been fine. The force in my left hand is pulling away from the blade, but this was still kind of a bonehead move, even though I've done this many times. Doing it in front of the camera is a bit intimidating. But, that's a much easier way to do it. And that is it. Save this, of course. With the spine now removed, I'm going to flip the chicken upright on the cutting board and pat it dry with some paper towels. Next, I'm going to start the dry brine. Dry brining is a process where we liberally salt the exterior of the chicken, and then since we have a saltier concentration on one side of the membrane, osmosis is going to move fluids outside of the skin. Desiccating the skin is going to aid in the Maillard reaction. The Maillard reaction is a complicated set of chemical reactions where, in this case, the amino acids in the flesh are binding with the carbohydrates. Some other reactions are taking place as well, and in the end we end up with chemicals that add flavors and aromas. Now that the chicken is salted, transfer it to a baking sheet with a wire rack and place it uncovered in the fridge. I left this one in the fridge for about 24 hours, and honestly that's probably as long as you want to leave it in there. To finish the chicken, I'm going to get some softened room temp butter, some clarified butter, some herbs, in this case rosemary, thyme, oregano, and sage, garlic, and some potatoes. I'm going to incorporate these herbs into the butter, so I'm going to start by chopping up the rosemary, and the other herbs are already pretty decent size, so I don't have to worry about those too much. And give the garlic a whack. Unwrap, dice it. Now I'm going to sprinkle on some coarse sea salt over the garlic, and it's going to act like an abrasive. Next, I'm going to use the knife and the cutting board like a mortise and pestle. Using a garlic press is fine, but I don't actually have one, mostly because I hate cleaning them, but feel free to use one if that's what you prefer. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter and then mix in my herbs and garlic using a fork. My butter was still a little cold, so I did end up setting it aside underneath the oven vent for a few minutes and then started mixing again until it was thoroughly mixed through. Now, I wanted to get some fresh herbs because it really does make a huge difference, but I forgot to get some at the store, and with the pandemic, I didn't really feel they were worth the extra trip. These still worked really well, so I wouldn't shy away too much from using dry herbs, but use fresh herbs whenever possible. Now, while my butter is softening, is the perfect time to get the potatoes chopped and peeled. Peeling the potatoes in nice big strips will save you some time, and then I'm just chopping them up into bite-sized pieces. Here is where things are going to start to get a little weird. I don't exactly remember who I saw do this first, but I'm pretty sure it was Babish. The idea here is that we're going to put our butter under the skin. The more fat a piece of meat has, the more juicy it will be. You'll want to be careful that you don't break the skin so that all the butter will stay in contact with the meat while it's in the oven and while we're letting it rest after cooking. Then just liberally smear the butter all over the chicken. You might not want to let your roommate see you doing this. Mine was getting some Buffalo Bill vibes. It rubs the butter under the skin, or else it gets the hose again. I'm going to put the chopped potatoes on the baking sheet. Now you can see that I don't have any tin foil, and lining your baking sheet with some tin foil will save you some scrubbing time, but I forgot to. I do find that when I'm in this situation, using a baking powder slurry helps a lot when scrubbing baked on grease. Now, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that it's the hydroxide ions from the baking soda that are bursting the fat cells, and this could be making it easier to clean, or it could just be the baking soda acting as an abrasive. Anyways, I'm going to put the chicken directly on top of the potatoes, and any fat that drips off is going to wind up on the potatoes, making them chemically and scientifically delicious. I brushed the outside of the chicken with a bit of clarified butter to help with the browning and to help prevent burning. I put it in the oven for 450 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 minutes to an hour. I recommend having the bird on a rung lower than where I had it. This caused a lot of grease to splatter up on my broiler, and then that really smoked the kitchen out when I ran the broiler. The chicken is done when the thickest part of the bird reads 165 degrees Fahrenheit. I put the potatoes back in under the broiler for just a few minutes to get some color and to crisp them up just a little bit. Alright, and now I'm going to tent the chicken with some tin foil for half an hour to let the muscle fibers in the chicken relax and reabsorb some of the juices. If we started carving right now, this would severely dry out the meat. But now to carve the bird, I'm going to start by slicing between the thigh and the breast. This is really just held on by this piece of meat, and we don't need to go through any bones. I'm not really sawing here either. I'm just kind of more poking around to find where the joints are, so I can cut there instead of trying to slice through a bone. I recommend using a fork while carving. Actually, I have no idea why I opted to use my bare hands for this. But for the breast, slice right down from the sternum, and you'll feel this kind of swoop down to the shoulder. Follow that the best you can. And here you can see me just trying to saw my way through a bone instead of just going through the joint like it would be easier, but it's not a big deal. For the wing, just find where the joint is and then separate that with your knife. I usually leave the drumstick and the thigh attached on a chicken, but it's the same idea. Find the joint and cut through that. I totally was cooking those the whole time and didn't just nuke some frozen veggies because I always eat my vegetables. Alright, that's everything. Thanks for joining.